Hi everybody from a beautiful evening here in Central Portugal. The sun is shining right into my eyeballs actually, but that's okay because it's been miserable these past few weeks and I'm very happy to see the sunshine. I took advantage of a little break in the weather to head down to the garden to do some stuff there, but mostly I've been inside working on the shutter for the inside of my door, and there's lots of work on that. Plus, we've got some crazy weather to share as well. So this video is a fun one. I hope you enjoy it, and I'll see you again at the end. Good morning. The sun is shining for the moment, and just look at this lovely window frame. I'm going to work on the shutter probably in the next few days because it's supposed to rain, but while the sun is out, or while the sun is trying to be out, I thought I would try to get a bit of work done in the garden, because it feels like I've been cooped up inside the house for weeks, and though I've really enjoyed the work on the bathroom and on the window, the garden has been neglected, and I just want to get outside into the fresh air while the weather is good. I think I have about an hour and a half or so, maybe 2 hours before it starts to rain, at least according to the forecast, which I should know by now not to trust, but I'm a trusting person, and so I'm going to try to sneak in some garden work because I'm going to be tending to a garden bed that has been neglected not for one season, but for two. Last year I didn't even have anything in the ground in this garden bed, and it has gotten extremely out of control, and it's time to deal with it. So I have the tool of joy. I'm going to be doing some pruning, I'm going to be doing some weeding, and I'm going to be doing some planting, and I am really excited to get my hands back in the soil. But before I head down to the garden, I just wanted to show you something. We had a really crazy storm last night, and some damage has occurred because I used to have, I don't know, a shade cloth draped over here, and the string that connected to that part has been waving around in the crazy winds, and it's actually pulled a lot of my tiles off, and some of them fell. So I'm going to deal with this a little later, but it just goes to show that the weather can get crazy, and even the clay tiles on a stone building can get wrecked. So enough of that, let's get to work on this garden bed. So the main thing I want to deal with in this area is this tree right here. It's called a strawberry tree, and it's known locally in Portugal as a madrono, and that's because these very colorful and cool looking berries are used to make an alcohol called madrono, which is also referred to as firewater. So you can imagine that it's pretty strong. I don't think I've had it in a while, so I don't really remember what it tastes like, and I don't think I have enough berries to start messing around with making the booze, but maybe I'll save the berries and make jam later. I'm not sure yet. I don't really love jam, so making it doesn't seem like the best use of things, but perhaps I can freeze them, give them to a friend who might use them. So I'm going to use the tool of joy to tackle this. As I mentioned, it's never been pruned, and it's about maybe 5 years old. It's the first thing I planted when I got here, and I wanted it for privacy, but it's getting a little bit too bushy. So I've got a lot to deal with down here. Let me just give you a little tour of what's going on, the chaos, and yeah, I'll get through what I can before the rain starts. Okay, so the chaos is multi-sided in this case. We've got some crazy stuff happening that's going into the path, and I really shouldn't have stuff hanging over from my land onto the path. So I want to trim it back. The lavender, again, I planted it at the same time as I planted that tree. And then I also have this tree. I wanted some privacy, so I did all this whole row together, and none of it's ever been pruned, and you can see the lavender is looking extremely scary. I also have some very out of control goji berries, which I'm surprised are still alive because I've never given them any attention whatsoever. I don't actually know what this tree is. A friend of mine recommended it just as a fast grower that's going to offer some privacy, but I gotta say I'm not a massive fan of it. It doesn't really produce anything. I feel like maybe it has nice flowers, but it's kind of straggly. So I'll prune that up as well, prune the lavender, prune the madrono, and then over on this side we have continued chaos. There's a kiwi in there. I don't know if it still lives. Loads of weeds to clear out. More pruning over on this side as well. I want to clear things out so I can possibly have a garden in here again. And this has gone crazy on this side as well. And yeah, just a lot of weeds to pull. So this is where I'm at right now. Let's see how much of this work I can get through And we're gonna start with the tool of joy. So I think I'm gonna be pretty brutal with my pruning because I really would like the tree to grow taller and less wide. So I'll probably get the saw out as well to get some of the bigger branches off, but for now I can use this fabulous tool to take off some of the more unruly stuff that's a bit thinner. So I'll just dump all the branches in a pile and I'll grab the berries off a little bit after, or a little bit later. But yeah, I feel like the tree has been sorely neglected. Trees do need pruning. I'm not an expert, but I have learned quite a bit over the years. I took a pruning course with a friend last year on apples and pears and grapes and stuff like that. And 'tis the season to prune, so I'll be doing a lot of pruning in the next weeks, I think, if the weather cooperates. So in addition to trying to get this thing to grow more tall than wide, I also want to try to clear out any branches in the interior, any crossing branches, any dead stuff. And that's basically a pretty standard rule for all pruning, at least as far as I know. And then the lavender, I don't even know what to do about this. I definitely need to, or I should have been cutting off the woody stuff as it was growing. I don't know if this thing is too far gone or what, but I'll start by cutting it back and then I'll just possibly keep observing it and then trim off more stuff in the future. It smells amazing and I absolutely love lavender. I assume the bees love it too. But when it looks nasty like this, it's kind of like fossilized or zombied lavender or something like that. It doesn't exactly look that nice. So let's see if this springs back to life if I give it a little tough love. And then we have this tree. I have no idea what you are, but you're definitely out of control and need to be tamed a little bit. It's also got a lot of dead stuff to clear up, and I guess this is what happens when you don't prune stuff for 5 years. It does make the pruning now very satisfying, though, I have to say. I always love doing jobs where you see a major difference and see it quickly, and that garden work is always really good for that, especially when I let things go a little bit crazy. So I'm finding this extremely satisfying. So there's lots of dead stuff in here, as you can see, but there's some new growth as well. So I think lavender is a very hardy, robust plant, and I'm happy for that because, yeah, she's definitely not been getting any love from me over the past few years, and yet she lives on. So that's good news. All right, that's okay for this side for the moment. Let's see what's happening over here. You know what's really weird? I always get injuries from the hand tools way more than I get them from any power tools. And this saw is often the culprit. I don't know how I do it, but somehow these teeth, or maybe I got scratched with the tree, I'm not sure. But sometimes I drop it on my foot and I'm wearing sandals. Sometimes I'm just waving it around and I get my leg. This thing is fierce, but it's a fabulous saw for pruning. So guys, I'm just gonna carry on with the work because, as I mentioned earlier, I'm on a time crunch and it's gonna rain soon. So the skies look a little ominous. Actually, while I'm pointing at the plum tree, this also needs a prune. I'm hoping to spend a day just walking through all of the trees, but for the moment my focus is here. So this is where we're at, and you'll see me soon, hopefully, with a nice, clean, tidy bed. Okay guys, this is where I got to. This is still chaos, but I've managed to do a bit of weeding. It's been a rush job, kind of a half-assed effort because I can feel the rain. It's starting to fall, and I just wanted to get this sort of started, and I'll return to it another time. I've decided I don't like this tree. I don't know what it is. It does have nice little flowers, but they're very small. It's kind of straggly looking. It's weird at the bottom, so I think I'm actually going to dig this out. Maybe I'll move it somewhere else or a section of it somewhere else, but I'm thinking it might be a good spot for my lime tree, which I have in a bucket up by the pool. So if you have any other ideas for a tree that might look good here, let me know in the comments. I pruned a little bit of the most offensive plum tree branches, but I'm going to need to get the ladder out to do the rest. And yeah, just kind of did a half-assed effort in weeding. I'm happy with madrono tree. I might cut off a few more branches to try to get it to grow taller. I've got loads of scrappy stuff there to put in the compost. And I picked some berries from the branches that I pulled off, but I don't know if it was really worth the effort. These are funny. They look like they would taste better than they actually do. I feel like they look like candy, and they're kind of okay, but it doesn't taste as sweet. Doesn't taste sweet enough for me to want to snack on them. So overall, fairly successful. This side is looking much better, even though it's not finished. And this side is looking a lot better too. And now the guy can go down my road, down this path, in this tractor without fear of being stabbed in the face by foliage and trees. So I'd say that's pretty good for a morning of rushed work. The rain is coming down harder now, so it's time to hide back inside. I'll have some lunch, and then I'll contemplate my next moves, which is either going to be pushing on with a little bit more of the bathroom work or possibly working on the shutter. So both of these jobs are very interesting to me, and I'm not gonna grudge the fact that I have to go back in the house because I got some fresh air, got my hands in the soil, and nobody needs to be out in this miserable weather. So it's a brand new day. The sun was shining just a moment ago. I came back inside to get a battery. I was puttering around with emails, and now it's absolutely chucking it down. But I'm all set up out there to do some work on the router. So let's run over and cut a circle. I don't know if you can hear me because the rain's coming down pretty hard at the moment, but I really am very lucky to have this space to be able to do some little jobs in the rain. I don't want to really bust the router out inside the house. It's way too messy, and so it's good that I can come here and make some more circles, because unfortunately this circle is not the right size, and this one also won't work for what I want to do. I basically am making some more templates for different sized circles so that I can make the shutter. So I thought I had everything I needed to get to work, but unfortunately I've forgotten the drill inside the house. So I'm gonna make a run for it and grab that, and then we're gonna cut more circles. I need at least 2 more circle templates for the idea that I have, maybe even 3, but I feel like I can get at least 2 of them out of this piece if I work in stages. So I'll start on phase 1 and get that done, come back here probably tomorrow, chop out another circle, move to phase 2, and then do the same for my final circle. Yes, my shutter idea involves 3 phases of circles. It's just crazy enough to work, I think, and it's gonna make a nice feature for the door that I think is gonna look really cool. But I'm gonna tidy things up in here and then make a run for it to the inside of the house, where I'm gonna get cozy by the fire and prepare what I need to get to work using this template. Okay, I'm back. I'm still sitting in front of the fire, even though the weather has thankfully improved. And the only thing I've done so far is manage to cut this piece smaller, because I thought it was a little bit too big. It didn't really showcase enough of the frame, but I'm a bit worried that I made it too small. So my solution for that, and also it's going to be a solution for some of the little more janky bits, like that part there. You can see there's a bit of a groove. So what I'm going to do is, to pad out the size a little bit, is cut a long strip of cardboard and then pad it out a bit more with this tape. And that should give me 1 millimeter or so, which I think is going to make the piece fit perfectly. So it's kind of a weird idea, but let's see if I can get it to work. So this is definitely one of my weirder ideas to date, but even if it just adds on a fraction of a millimeter to the thickness of the whole thing, it's going to make a big difference, I think, to how the shutter fits on there. Plus, having it smooth around the edges is going to make the circle for the shutter a lot smoother as well, and it's really important to me that I get this as close to perfect as possible. I've actually ended up sort of blocking out a certain section of the circle where I'm not going to router. I'm just going to unclamp it and rotate it around, because I accidentally did take a big chunk out of that, and I don't think there's any point really trying to fix it, because I can just move things around as I go. So that's the circle, finally done, finally ready. Hopefully with the other ones I get the size right on the first try. And now it's time to glue. Okay, so I have another weird but hopefully wonderful thing on the go here. Basically, this circle is on there to clamp the whole thing hopefully flat. It's tricky because I'm only clamping from one side, so maybe it won't work, but I can rotate it around in a little bit. And then obviously these clamps are to help push it all together. So this piece is important because it's going to be the actual shutter, and I've used the thicker wood, which I think is going to work really nicely. But I have a weird master plan for the center. I'm going to try to make a grate similar to what I have on the bottom of the door, and it's going to be tricky, but I love a challenge. Okay, I've had a bit of lunch and I've done a whole lot of pondering, and here's what I've come up with, and it's not exactly what I had in mind when I was thinking about making a circle in the door. Originally, I was going to do something very similar to the grate with the same size wood in a crosshatch pattern, and then I thought, this wood is too thick for the actual shutter, so I got a smaller piece, and then I plotted it out, and I was gonna chisel and fit it all together, and I just think it would be way too crazy, and I'm not actually sold on how it would look. So instead, I've gone with something similar, which is very unlike me, I mean simpler, and I'm just gonna do a little cross within a circle, which I think is actually gonna look better than a grate, and it'll be the same size wood. I might have to do a little bit of chiseling it down to size after the fact to fit it in, and yeah, that's gonna go in the middle of the shutter. So after a whole bunch of thought, that's my idea, and now it's time to get these two pieces stuck together. Okay, so I've got the two cross pieces marked out, ready for cutting, but I need the clamps. So let's take this apart and see what it looks like. It's a little bit stuck to the board underneath, which wasn't part of the plan. Hopefully that doesn't present a problem. Let's see. Nothing a chisel can't fix, hopefully. Let's see if I can just pop this off here. Come on. Come on. Hopefully I don't wreck the whole thing. I probably should have put a piece of paper underneath that I could then peel off later and sand it off like I did before, or chisel it off. There we go. That could have been bad. All right, so let's see what this thing looks like on the other side. It's looking pretty flat and pretty straight, and it seems quite stuck together. So I'm happy with this. This is just one element of this whole process, and that went okay. Now, on to the cross pieces. Well, this has been extremely frustrating. As you can see, the pieces have been chiseled out, and I didn't forget to film the chiseling. What I did with both pieces, I made the mistake twice, is I just ended up pushing the button at the wrong time, and I filmed the in-between parts rather than the actual work. And I don't really remember doing that that often, so it's crazy that it's happened twice in a row. Anyway, so now I have the pieces mostly cut out. It's gonna need to be cleaned up a bit more, but let's stick it together, see how it fits, and then, yeah, as suspected, I have to take a little bit more out of each side or of either side so that the whole thing sits flush. And then this piece will be trimmed down to size, and it's gonna sit in the middle of the shutter in a circle that I eventually cut out of that. So, I've got a bit more work to do on this and some other things to do as well. The filming has frustrated me a little bit, so I'm gonna put the camera away, push on with the work, and see you very soon. Okay, I'm back. I've been working hard. The cross pieces are ready, so we'll get those glued together in a minute. I've also made another panel that I'm gonna cut circles out of, and that's gonna be on the interior of the shutter. But unfortunately, I've been met with some frustrations involving the router, but I might have a solution involving this flower pot. So let's get these two cross pieces together, and then I'll explain what I'm talking about after that. So I really enjoy chiseling, and I like this precision work, but my original plan of using the smaller wood would have been absolutely bonkers. It would have been loads and loads of cuts to do, and would have probably taken me, 5 to 7 years to finish it, and I just don't have the time for such things. So I think going one single piece, one cross, is a much better solution, and I actually think it's going to look better as well. And I have definitely enjoyed working on this one chiseling job, but with these small pieces, it really is kind of tricky and very, very time consuming. So let's get them together, let it dry, and then I'm gonna have the interior part of the window or of the shutter window finished. So it's nice and flush. It's looking good. And I'm quite happy with it. So there we go. And now, on to my problem. Let's see if I can explain myself. So here's the frustrating situation I found myself in. I have these templates. This one is going to be to cut out the actual shutter. So it's going to be this size, but there's going to be a hole in the middle, and that's where this cross is going to sit. However, though I've had loads of luck cutting out circles using the router, I'm a circle cutting expert. I have a bunch of other sizes that I've already cut. This is going to be a slightly smaller size than this one. I've already done that one. I'm having extreme circle success, and I was on a roll, but then I realized that the center hole is actually too small to be able to do with the router, because the router, I guess the radius is this, which means the diameter is going to be double that, and that's way bigger than the hole that I want, and I can't really think of a way to use this thing to make a small circle. So that's where the flower pot comes in, and I haven't actually thought about it too much, but I feel like I can somehow clamp the flower pot on the underside of wherever I need the circle, because this is actually the perfect size for the center. It's about 9.5 centimeters, I think, wide, or maybe the diameter. I don't know. Who knows? I've kind of lost track of things. It's getting late and I'm getting tired. So I'm thinking that I can clamp it underneath, make a hole, and then run the router sort of on the interior of the flower pot. It's a creative solution. I think it might work. I can't think of a reason why it won't, but I'm gonna think about it a little more and tackle it possibly tomorrow or the next day when I have more time and when I'm not so rushed and when I'm not so tired. So yeah, I guess it makes sense. I mean, I could have seen this from the beginning that it was going to be too big to actually do this cut that I wanted. I'm definitely not willing to mess around with the jigsaw, because it is my most hated tool and I've never been able to cut anything accurately with that thing. So, you know, could be just crazy enough to work. We'll see. But now I think it's time to call it quits. Hang out with Mikey. Come here. How's it going, little guy? In front of the fire. And just enjoy what's actually turned into a pretty lovely evening. So the rain came, the rain went, the weather's been crazy. Mikey's going outside for a little explore. And so I think it's a good time to call it quits on work on the shutter, so I don't push on and make some stupid mistake as I often do when I'm tired. I'll probably grab the ladder and fix the tiles that blew off earlier, and yeah, just enjoy this evening. It's really gorgeous out here. The sun is shining, it's not very cold at all, and yeah, the weather's been crazy, but it's lovely when it ends in a basically perfect evening like this. So I'm gonna enjoy the rest of this beautiful afternoon, ponder some more plans for my shutter, and I'll see you guys tomorrow for some more work. Good morning, guys. It's early and I'm definitely not ready to start my day, but I had a little look outside this morning and noticed a few pretty amazing things. First of all, there's actually ice on my car, which I've never seen before, which could be because I've never been up so early to actually witness it. That's a definite possibility. But the thing that I'm most excited to show you that I've definitely never seen before is the mountain. The gardenias has snow on it, and I haven't seen that before. Usually it's just the Serradestrella. So I think Storm Ingrid came through over this past week, and yeah, it's absolutely stunning. So the part of the mountain right behind me is also looking really frosty and icy up there. That's where the fire was. And yeah, it's a beautiful sunny day, but there's definitely a nip in the air. And lucky for me, we don't really get frost all the way down here. So, or do we? I'll probably need to go investigate my trees. This is meant to go on the garden bed that I recently cleared, and it's definitely looking a bit icy and crusty. We've got some ice there, but usually down a little lower, there's nothing really to see. Let's go take a look actually while I'm wandering around in my slippers, because yeah, this is definitely unusual. Let's see if the banana tree survives this. We've got a little fresh looking leaf coming up, so I think it'll be fine. And hopefully my chili plants are okay. Perhaps I should have wrapped those up after all, because yeah, there's definitely been some frosty stuff happening down here. So I don't know what this means for the life of my trees and plants and everything else that might be frost sensitive. I've definitely had avocado trees and mango trees perish over the years in the cold. And I do have a few sensitive trees like my lime trees. I probably don't love a frost. Let's go over and just pay a visit to the little lime tree. Yeah, frost everywhere. Interesting. So I don't know if this is going to be a short cold snap or a long one. I'll check the weather forecast and see what I can do to help my trees and things survive. But yeah, the lime tree is looking a little crispy. We've got some ice on there. Anyway, dealing with frost is completely new to me, so I don't know what to expect. I don't know what effect it's going to have on things, but it really is an absolute stunner of a morning, and so amazing to see the snow on the gardenias right there. It's just really, really, really beautiful. Let's go a little closer. Wow. Absolutely incredibly gorgeous. Anyway, that's the start to my morning. I've got some coffee to put on my face, so I'll see you guys later for some more work on what looks like it's going to be a beautiful day after lots of rain. Good morning from a very drizzly, miserable, foggy day. It's a lot different than the day yesterday, which I wasn't unfortunately able to take advantage of because I had to go into town for some stuff. I had some online work to do on the computer, but before I call it quits on this video, I'm gonna try out this flower pot idea, and I'm really hoping it's gonna work. Because other than buying a giant circular drill bit to cut out the whole circle all at once, I can't really think of how else I might do this. So I'm really hoping this idea is actually crazy enough to work. But before I try that, I've had some bad news. Sinead came up yesterday and reported to me that the wind had ripped apart my lower polytunnel. So I thought I would come down and investigate the situation. And, well, it's not looking terrible from this angle, but it's not looking great either. Let's see. All right, so the poles look like, has it snapped? Yeah, it snapped. That's broken off inside there. This one's just completely bent. It's about to snap. Don't even know what's happening down there. So, I mean, fortunately, it can still be used as a very dubious looking storage space for the moment, as long as another windstorm doesn't blow through. But I'm gonna have to think of some solution to fix this. So if anyone has ideas, please let me know. I'm all ears. But right now, let's deal with problem number one. Let's see if I can use a pink flower pot to router a circle for my shutter. Okay, I'm ready to go, and with the router, I find that it's the setup that takes the most time. Sometimes you have to be creative with your solutions, and I'd say that this is definitely my attempt at a creative solution. So the 4 clamps are holding the wood on with equal pressure on 4 corners. So I guess the pot is kind of clamped down. The whole thing is a little wobbly, but this part is sturdy. So step 1 of the madness, let's drill a hole so that the router bit can get in to where it needs to be. Okay, step 2, let's router and hope for the best. how about that? It looks like it worked. And it's also caught all the sawdust in here. It's been nice and tidy. So that was a very pleasant surprise. I couldn't think of any reason why it wouldn't work, but you know, doing something for the first time that you've never really seen before always makes one nervous. So now I've got this interior piece that I can basically clamp onto the other pieces that I've made, the ones that I've glued together, and then I'm going to run the router around the inside of this, the same way as I just had the pot underneath. Don't know if it makes any sense, but it will in the next video once I get moving again on this. So the flower pot experience has been a roaring success, and it's given me the confidence to use other items for other circle sizes. I feel like this yogurt pot is going to be perfect for yet another circle that I need, so that's good news. And yeah, it's a win. I'm really pleased with this, and I'm going to head back inside and continue working, but I'm going to end this video because it's been a long one and I've already shared a lot, so to be continued. More circles are coming your way soon. So I'll say goodbye from this one. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give the video a like, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in the next video.